Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take a whole stack of information, sift through it, and really pull out those crucial nuggets to help you get, well, truly well informed. Today, we're diving into something I think is incredibly vital, really, for anyone connected to education or just concerned about the well-being of young people. We've got some fascinating material here from Dr. Howie Knoff's recent blog for Project Achieve Educational Solutions. Specifically, we're looking at the final piece, the capstone, really, of his 5-part series on assembling the school success puzzle. So our mission today is to unpack this critical relationship between school climate and student engagement. We'll look at how it's changed and, maybe more surprisingly, how it hasn't over the last, 50 years. Okay, so let's get into this. We're talking student social groups, cliques, what engagement really means, and crucially, some concrete strategies to build it up and also tackle disengagement.
Right. And what's really remarkable, I think, is how Dr. Knopf positions this final component, school climate and student engagement, as, well, both the foundation and the culmination of everything else the school tries to do. It's the piece that genuinely ties it all together and makes sure all the other efforts, actually land.
It totally makes sense that this is the capstone then. Dr. Knopf's larger series, it emphasizes 5 interdependent components for schools to be truly effective, right? There's quality instruction, discipline and classroom management, multi-tiered services and supports, staff cohesion and collaboration, and then today's focus, school climate and student engagement.
Exactly. And if you connect that to the bigger picture, it means, well, you can pour tons of effort into curriculum reform or fancy new tech. But if the students aren't actually engaged, if they're not connecting, those efforts might just, fall flat. This piece of the puzzle is absolutely key if you want to understand how to make real improvements stick for the new school year or any year, really.
Okay, but here's where it got really interesting for me. Dr. Knopf emphasizes that to get a handle on school climate and engagement, you first have to understand the reality of student social groups. These groups are just persistent. He did this fascinating comparison between 1975 and 2025, 50 years. And despite all the school reforms, the tech explosions, huge social shifts, the basic social structures in high schools, they're, well, strikingly similar. It's almost uncanny. Let's start back in 1975. You had your popular students, athletes, cheerleaders, student government types. They kind of set the norms, right? And they're often highly engaged, both academically and in extracurriculars. Then the jocks, mainly focused on sports, doing, just enough academically to stay eligible.
Pretty standard stuff back then.
Yeah. And the brains, or nerds, highest academic engagement, often, but sometimes facing social isolation. They'd be into academic competitions. And you had your drama, music, and arts kids finding their niche in creative stuff.
And you can see right there, even 50 years ago, how that social identity started to shape engagement levels. If you found your place, your status within those school structures, you were generally more connected, more invested.
Right. And then on the other side, you had the burnouts or stoners. They were kind of rejecting the whole school value system, showing minimal engagement. And loners just sort of disconnected from, well, everything, operating on the edges. Okay, now let's jump to 2025, the digital age. Everything's different, right?
Well, Dr. Nosson finds the core social dynamics are remarkably similar, just, with modern twists. You've got influencers and popular kids getting status from social media and traditional activities. They're still highly engaged, often to keep that status.
Maintaining the brand, so to speak.
Exactly. Athletes are still highly engaged, maybe even more so now with expanded opportunities for everyone. And the academics, or high achievers, they seem even more intensely focused on college prep now, like hyper-competitive. Their academic engagement is high, maybe pushed by that competition, which does raise an interesting point, doesn't it? Is that intense academic focus, for some, driven more by that external pressure, the college race, than by a genuine internal love of learning. It's definitely something to think about.
Yeah, for sure. We also still have the arts and theater students thriving in their creative spaces, and a big new group, gamers and tech students. They can be super engaged in STEM, or they can withdraw into those virtual worlds. Seems to go both ways.
A double-edged sword, that one.
Totally. And the disengaged groups, they've evolved, but they persist. Vaping or substance users have sort of replaced the burnout, showing similar academic disengagement. And a really concerning new one, social media-obsessed students. They look connected online, but often their actual academic engagement is dropping as those digital distractions just pull them away from learning.
It's a constant battle for attention.
It is. And sadly, you still have loners and various alternative subcultures existing on the margins.
So what's really striking, the big takeaway from Dr. Knopf here, is how little, that fundamental link between your social group and your school engagement has actually shifted. If you find your identity through things the school values, activities it sanctions, you're more likely to be engaged. But if you define yourself against the school or you just can't find a place to belong, you're still at risk, profoundly at risk. It really suggests that maybe schools have focused so much on curriculum, on tech, but perhaps not enough on these enduring social and emotional needs.
Okay, so if these social patterns are so deep-rooted, what does this actually mean when we use the word engagement? It's obviously got to be more than just bums on seats, right?
Absolutely. It's way more than just showing up. Dr. Knopf gives a really clear definition. School and classroom engagement isn't just about compliance or attendance records. It's the total investment a student makes behaviorally, emotionally, and cognitively in their learning and the school community.
Okay, break that down for us. Behavioral, emotional, cognitive.
Right. So behavioral engagement is the stuff you can see. Attending class, yes, but also doing the work, participating in discussions, joining clubs or sports. Active participation. Then emotional engagement. This is about feelings. Does the student feel like they belong? Do they feel connected to teachers, to peers? Do they have positive feelings about learning itself? And finally, cognitive engagement. This is the mental effort. Are they really trying to understand complex stuff? Using learning strategies. Sticking with difficult problems. They're not just going through the motions. They're actually thinking deeply, investing intellectually.
That's much clearer. So it's not just about if a student is engaged, but more about how the environment itself supports or maybe even hinders engagement.
Precisely. That's a really key shift in thinking in contemporary research. It moves the focus. Instead of asking, is this kid engaged? We should be asking, how does this classroom, this school, this environment support or get in the way of engagement? It puts the onus more on the system, not just the student.
That's a powerful reframing. So we know what engagement looks like in all its facets. Now, the big question for educators, parents, anyone listening, how do we actually build it, nurture it? Dr. Knopf identifies 5 key indicators, things that reliably predict student engagement. What should we be looking for?
Okay, the first one, and this comes up again and again in the research, is positive relationships with adults and peers. Engaged kids, they tend to seek out interactions. They respect teachers. Generally, they feel okay asking for help. They have supportive friendships. And the research is super clear on this. Having at least one meaningful adult relationship at school, a teacher, counselor, coach, anyone can be a game changer. It's like an anchor.
Just one connection can make that difference.
It really can. Second, look for active participation in learning activities. This isn't just answering when called on. It's voluntary participation, contributing ideas, asking thoughtful questions, showing curiosity beyond just doing the minimum. Even quieter kids find ways, maybe writing or online.
Okay, makes sense. What's third?
Third is goal-oriented behavior and academic investment. Engaged students tend to set goals, maybe short-term, maybe long-term. They stick with challenges. They look for resources if they're stuck. And they show genuine pride in their work, or even just in making progress. This isn't just for the straight-A students. It's about investing in your own improvement wherever you're starting from.
Right, effort and persistence.
Exactly. Fourth is school pride and community connection. These students feel positive about their school overall. They might participate in traditions, respect the physical space, speak well of their experience. This often links directly to extracurriculars, but it's a broader sense of belonging to the school community.
Okay, and the last one?
The fifth one is emotional regulation and resilience. This is huge. Engaged students, they can handle challenges better. They bounce back from setbacks. They know how to seek support when things get tough, and they generally maintain a more positive emotional keel even when stressed. It's not about not feeling bad things, but about having healthy ways to cope.
That's such a useful checklist, really, for understanding what engagement truly looks like. So now, how do we actively foster it? Dr. Knopf outlines several strategies backed by research.
Well, the most consistent finding, the absolute bedrock, is relationship-centered approaches. We're talking about concrete actions. Teachers learning names, greeting kids at the door, showing genuine interest in their lives, having regular one-on-one check-ins, however brief. Things like advisory programs or mentoring systems are vital structures to make sure every student has that connection.
So relationships first. What else?
Second, choice and voice integration. Giving students meaningful choices. Choices in projects, how they learn something, how they show what they know, and alongside that, real opportunities for student voice in decisions. Classroom rules, school policies, maybe through surveys, student government, actual collaborative problem solving. If they have a say, they have a stake.
Makes sense. Ownership.
Exactly. Third, culturally responsive and sustaining pedagogy. This means teaching that doesn't just acknowledge, but actively builds on students' cultural backgrounds,
Right.
bringing in diverse perspectives, maybe aligning teaching methods with different cultural learning styles, and really valuing what students bring from their own lives and communities,
Mm.
letting them share their expertise.
So learning feels relevant, respectful.
Yes. Fourth is social-emotional learning, SEL integration, and crucially, not just as a separate class once a week.
Right, not just an add-on.
No. The idea is to weave these skills, managing emotions, building relationships, making responsible choices directly into the academic subjects, give kids chances to practice these skills constantly in real context.
Okay, and the fifth strategy.
Fifth is authentic assessment and feedback. Moving beyond just tests and grades. Using assessment to give meaningful feedback that helps students improve. This includes things like formative assessments, quick checks to see where kids are at, and self-assessment so students think about how they learn. And using performance tasks that connect what they're learning to the real world. Make it matter.
Okay, those are powerful strategies for building engagement, but we also have to face the reality of disengagement. What does it look like when a student starts checking out? And maybe more importantly, what are the deeper reasons why?
Yeah, the flip side. Dr. Norfolk identifies 5 key signs of disengagement. First, and it can be gradual, is withdrawal from academic and social participation. This could be missing school, sure, but also just being mentally absent in class, not talking,
Yeah.
avoiding group work, pulling away from friends. Educators really need sharp eyes for this.
Subtle at first, maybe.
Often, yes. Second is chronic academic underachievement relative to ability. This is when a student who you know can do the work consistently performs way below their potential. You see lots of missing assignments, minimal effort, maybe just giving up easily on anything challenging.
Okay, what else signals disengagement?
Third, negative emotional responses to school. This is more overt. Students might express a lot of anxiety about school, hopelessness, maybe anger, sometimes even outright refusal to attend. These are distress signals.
No, just a bad day.
No, it's a pattern. Fourth, a really tough one, resistance to adult support and authority. They might see offers of help as, like, intrusive or suspicious. There might be defiance or just a deep distrust of teachers or counselors' motives. It shows that connection, that trust, is broken.
That's a serious red flag.
It is. And fifth is when there's a dominant focus on activities outside of school. This happens when outside life, maybe caring for family, dealing with problems at home, mental health struggles, even obsessive gaming completely takes over. School just becomes an annoying obstacle to what they see as their real life.
Wow. Those are clear signs. But like you said, those are symptoms. To really intervene effectively, we have to understand the roots. What causes this disengagement?
Right, the root causes, and again, number one, the most significant predictor, lack of meaningful relationships, feeling unknown, unsupported, disliked, invisible at school. This hits especially hard for kids who are rejected, bullied, or feel culturally disconnected, like their identity isn't seen or valued.
Relationships, again, it keeps coming back to that.
It always does. Second cause, academic mismatch and chronic failure. If the work is constantly too hard and they always fail, they develop learned helplessness. Why try? Or if it's always too easy and not meaningful, they just get incredibly bored. Either way, they check out.
Got to find that sweet spot.
The zone of proximal development, yeah, and make it relevant, which leads to the third cause, absence of cultural relevance and personal connection. Students have to see links between their background, their interests, their future hopes, and what's happening in the classroom. If school feels alien or dismissive of who they are, they'll disengage, especially critical for students from non-dominant groups.
Makes total sense. What else?
Fourth, and we've seen this amplified so much recently, trauma and mental health challenges, unaddressed stress, anxiety, depression, the impact of trauma. These things drain a student's resources, their emotional energy, their ability to focus. It's all consumed. There's just not much left for engaging with school. The pandemic really put a spotlight on this.
Absolutely. And the last root cause?
Fifth is systemic barriers and inequitable opportunities. Sometimes students disengage because they feel, rightly or wrongly, that the system is rigged against them. They might see poverty, discrimination, or lack of resources as insurmountable obstacles, thinking, why bother succeeding in school if it won't lead anywhere for me? Or maybe they've experienced unfair discipline or policies.
Understanding those roots is so crucial for figuring out how to help. So what are the promising ways to re-engage students who've started to drift? What does Dr. Knopf suggest?
Well, mirroring the importance of relationships for engagement, the most effective re-engagement strategies start with intensive relationship building and mentoring. This means deliberately assigning specific adults, or maybe trained peers, as mentors, Having regular positive check-ins focused on the student, not just their grades, and training all staff in how to build trust, especially with kids who've been hurt or stressed, creating that safety net.
So doubling down on connection.
Exactly. Second, individualized academic recovery plans. You can't just throw the same intervention at everyone. You need good assessments to figure out the specific skill gaps and the student's interests and strengths. Then you build a plan around that. Maybe alternative ways to get credits, maybe vocational links, something tailored.
Personalized support. What's next?
Third, directly addressing the emotional and mental health side. Social emotional skill development and mental health support. This means explicit teaching of skills like managing emotions or setting goals, combined with easily accessible mental health support counselors, social workers, integrated right into the school day, making it normal and easy to get help.
Reducing the stigma.
Absolutely. Fourth, family and community engagement. Really bringing families and community organizations in as partners, understanding the challenges they face, and connecting students and their families with resources in the community, tutoring, health services, whatever they need. It takes a village, truly.
Yeah, leveraging those outside supports.
Right. And fifth, flexible and responsive educational programming.
Yeah.
Recognizing that the traditional school day or structure doesn't work for everyone. This could mean flexible schedules for kids who work or have family duties, alternative learning settings, options that clearly connect to what they want to do after high school, make the path forward visible and attainable.
Okay, this is all incredibly helpful. To make it even more practical, Dr. Knopf actually provides a kind of evaluative questionnaire, right, to help educators spot engaged and disengaged students. It needs context, obviously, but it's a useful tool.
Absolutely. It gives you concrete things to look for. So for identifying engaged students, you'd ask questions like relationship quality assessment. Does this student seem to have positive connections with teachers and peers? Do you see them interacting, supporting friends, asking for help appropriately? Academic investment evaluation. Are they consistently going beyond just doing the minimum? Do you see voluntary participation, effort that suggests they care, persistence on tough tasks? Emotional connection assessment. Do they express positive feelings about school, maybe specific classes or activities? Do you see enthusiasm, pride in their work?
Right, looking for those positive vibes.
Yeah. And voice and choice utilization. When given chances to choose or share opinions, do they take them? Do they participate in discussions about how the class runs, offer ideas?
Got it. And then for spotting disengaged students, what are those key questions or red flags?
For disengaged students, you're flipping the lens. Ask. Participation decline assessment. Has there been a noticeable drop-off in their involvement over time, academically or socially? Are there patterns of withdrawal you can spot?
Looking for that downward trend.
Exactly. Academic performance gap analysis. Is there a big, unexplained gap between what you know they can do and what they're actually doing? Emotional climate evaluation. Do they frequently express negative feelings about school? Saying it's boring, pointless, stressful, complaining often about teachers or classes?
Listening for those negative statements.
Yes. Relationship isolation assessment. Do they seem isolated, lack friends, avoid interacting with adults, maybe they eat alone, resist group work? And support resistance assessment. When you offer help, do they consistently reject it or seem skeptical? Do they seem to distrust the motives of school staff trying to support them?
That really helps put handles on it. So wrapping this up, this deep dive really underscores that effective schools aren't just about good teaching and isolation, they're integrated systems. Quality instruction, discipline supports, staff cohesion, and this crucial piece, school climate and engagement they all have to work together, strengthening each other.
Absolutely. In student engagement, it really is both the starting point and the ultimate goal. It's the foundation everything else is built on, and it's the outcome you're aiming for. Without it, like we said, the best plans, the best teaching, just doesn't connect.
And that 50-year look back, the persistence of those social groups from 75 to today, it's such a powerful reminder. Technology changes, practices evolve, but those fundamental human needs for belonging, for feeling competent, for having some autonomy, those drivers of engagement, they haven't changed at all. Kids need to feel seen, known, valued, supported. They need to taste success, and they need to feel like school connects to who they are and where they're going.
And Dr. Knopf's work, it doesn't just diagnose the problem, it gives really concrete, actionable ways forward. The research is there, the strategies are known, the tools are available. The big question left is, do we have the collective will, the collective efficacy to actually do this demanding but incredibly rewarding work?
That's the challenge, isn't it? So, thinking about everything we've discussed, what's the one thing that really stands out to you from today's deep dive? How might these ideas change how you look at the young people around you, or maybe even how you reflect on your own time in school? Something to ponder. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive. Until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep exploring.